Hello,
Hi.
I'm here with Aneke, a Spanish artist, illustrator. How do you prefer to describe yourself?
Um, yeah, artist is good because it's not a bad word. It's what you do. So you are working in the industry, in the art industry, so you can call yourself an artist. I don't consider myself an illustrator per se because it's not the only thing I do. I can make illustrations, but I mainly doing sequential art. So I work in comics, and I can work in covers or just illustrations, and so. But I prefer artists. It's good. I mean, yeah.
So I'm most familiar with your work from the series you've done for Dynamite
Yes.
and the digital series you've done for DC.
Okay.
The thing I'm most curious about, especially with European artists, is how you got working for the American market instead of working maybe for the European market.
When I was little, I wanted to be a painter. But since you grow older, you study a lot of stuff and other things like science or whatever. I tried to go to school and started to learn animation, comics, 3D, you name it. A lot of art education. So I was like 3 years there, and I don't really know how I ended up making comics because okay, it's something that I loved comics. I have been reading all my life, so I like them. But in my country, it's really difficult to work as an artist. So if you are really determined to get into the industry of drawing comics, which I never really expected.
Do you have a comic industry in Spain? Like, do you have only publishers that put out mostly translated work? Because I know you have at least compared to Romania. uh,
Of course, we read comics, all right, but our society is not big consumer as, for example, the French, that they have comics everywhere. Here in Spain is a little less developed in that thing, but we do have great artists here and people that consume comics. So it's not as big as some other industries, but we do have one. But nevertheless, I started with an agent. Okay, so I studied audiovisual communication. I really liked cinema, and when I finished my degree in the university, and it was like the last thing that I wanted to try before getting into proper job, because it was kind of difficult to get a job in the audiovisual medium. I just developed an increasingly interest for comics because I suddenly felt more secure about trying it. So I just made my own samples, and I went to conventions here in Spain, and I met several people, and I met an agent that he was working with the American market. So I started to work with him. And I was lucky because I had never done previous comic art before. So, and I started right away working with Leah Moore and John Repion in Damsels. That was my very first work. And so yes, I started to work with this agent that put me in connection with some editors in Dynamite, and I made some samples, and I was lucky. They liked my job, and I started working with them.
did the communication mostly went through the editors or the agent? How did things work? Did you ever work directly with the writer?
Yeah, okay. So at the beginning, when you work with an agent, in my case, they are the one who talk to the editor because you don't know anyone. I mean, you start from the scratch. You don't know anyone. You don't know nothing about the industry, you don't have connections. So that's the thing that an agent can do for you, provide connections with editors and publishers. So in my case, it was Eduardo Alpuente. He has a Spanish agent, and he made connection, and he told me everything. He gave me the script, gave me directions, blah blah blah, the deadline and whatever. I think that is important in this business is if you don't manage yourself in English, if you don't know how to speak a different language, it's gonna be another one who speaks for you. So you don't have that control over your work. And I had that side. I had done it because I know I speak English and it's okay. I can speak with my editors and blah blah blah. But an agent can fulfill that part for the artists that don't know English, for example. Okay, so they can do that part of the job for you. For me, it was something that I didn't need. So it was all the part of managing the conversation with the editor, because it's kind of tricky because you don't have the skills and the ability to talk to your editor because you don't know a lot of the industry and the ways of managing your art and whatever. So there's this link is your agent. So time passes by, ages passes, and you get growing and you get better. And there's a moment and I felt, for example, that I needed my own control of the things. But I spent many years with my agent because you have a kind of a contract with them, with the editorial, with the publisher. I was like, for example, in exclusive for 3 years. I remember. So we had a contract. So I was with my agent. So he gave me work, and you get the work thing going on, and it doesn't depend mainly on you, but you can talk to the writers by your own, or try to talk to the editor, but always with the respect that you have for the agent. I didn't want to trespass his work, until I felt secure that I can talk to the editor because I've been working with them and whatever. So you get better at your own job as a person, as a human being. If you have skills, human skills, and you can talk to the editor and tell them your needs and to grow this feedback, it's just natural, and it feels natural to work with them because you cannot be all the time in giving your job to a link that it links to the other person. So it's better to work as a team, the creative team. For me, it's better to be in that way, in the situation, but you have to be to get to the point to do that when you are sure that you can do it. I don't know if I explain myself.
Yeah, I understood.
Yeah. So this was thinking about it right now. As years have passed, it was kind of a really hard thing to happen, because not everybody has the opportunity to just not having done like fanzines or previous job and start working with them. That was it. I got lucky. I was in a very good place, in a good situation, and I just started to learn how to make comics right away, working on them. Okay, I had the previous background in because I read a lot, I've studied a lot, but I was never a part of it, of the industry, until that moment.
Because you've mentioned it, is fanzine culture a big part in Spain?
Yes, it is. I have some friends, colleagues that artists very well known and really great artists that they started that way, like making their own comics and in the underground scene and going to conventions and selling them and blah blah. So it's a big part, but anyway, each artist has their own path on this wonderful thing, It's like it's different for all of us. You can never tell the same story for everyone,
Yeah, this is something I'm discovering. Yeah, so for the listeners, Damsels is a sort of revisionist story where almost all the fairy tales are inhabiting the same world.
Yes.
And Rapunzel is an amnesiac girl that was actually replaced by her witch godmother
Yes.
at the throne of her kingdom, and she's trying to reclaim the kingdom and her prince. And while doing this, she meets a whole other
Friends and characters, yeah.
characters from various other fairy tales, some more made famous by Disney movies, like The Little Mermaid,
Yes.
which is drawn in the whole mermaid world is very much darker
Yes,
than
yes,
than
sure.
the
It's
Disney
more
world.
creepy, yeah.
Yeah, they have fangs and eat raw fish. It's very fun, and the witch hag is very nicely done. It's very creepy.
Yeah.
And some I think more obscure, or I don't know if more obscure, but less represented in pop culture, like the 12 Dancing Princesses, with the frog character.
Yes. You know, John and Leah had a really nice comprehension of the fairy world, you know. And I was amazed about all the little stories beside the main stream, you know. So it was really fun to work on them all. And I'm peeping at the comic. I'm remembering much of the work I did, and yes, it has a lot of side stories. So it's really fun, yeah, to see it, yeah.
So Damsels was your first published, not even published, some among your first comics work, the first comics pages you've done.
Totally. It was my very first job. I have done nothing then, you know, like only my samples and nothing else, and just illustrations, some work that I did for publicity, and some lesser works I did for that kind of things that you start to get money from it a little bit, you know, even though it was very, very, very little. Right now I have it here, the trade paperback, and you can tell, well, I can tell for sure, the passion that I had in the beginning, you know, something that you can tell in the strength of the pages, but also very naive, you know, like it's like a lot of I don't know, I'm just taking the book right here with me, and it puts a smile on my face. So I learned a lot with this comic. It was wonderful to work with Leah and John, and I learned really a lot, and it was a story so fun to draw, even though I didn't have now I know I have more skills to do a story like that, and I sometimes think that I would love to do it right now, because I've learned so much in these years, and I would love to put my own vision right now as an older woman to this story, but it's I have a big love for that story, my very first comic ever, and yeah. So
when you say you'd like to revisit it as a older woman, in what sense? Like the storytelling, or the way you've drawn the characters?
Yeah, sure.
Or...
Yeah, all of it. You know, you it's like playing a game, a video game. You get better at it the more you play at it. So it's like when you finish it, you have the passion, and you would like to play it again, you know, and it's like, I'm much better right now that I finished than before, but okay, never mind. So it's a thing of its time. It's just something that I think all artists think this way, because we can see our development in time, you know. And sometimes when you look at your past jobs, it's like, oh my god, there's a lot of failures, and but anyway, it's good to see that it exists, you know, and that yes, I made this, so I'm proud of it, you know, and I learned by doing it, and it's my little kid with with the amazing writer. So that is that, you know.
Something enjoyed about the story was that so Dynamite are very known for their cheesecake covers.
Yes.
And this series provide some ample opportunity for covers like that are very have female characters in very
Yes.
Provocative stances and costume
Yeah, you can say.
postures.
Yes, sir.
But the stories themselves are much more considered and have they treat the characters as characters, as human beings. And
I think about covers is that it's a way of attention, bringing attention to the thing. It's like pick me. I'm cheesy. I'm a bit sexualized. You're gonna like this book because I'm hot, and I see it that way. I understand that. I'm not a big fan of that concept because you can see on the inside that it's totally different. I mean, the characters, okay, they have their sexual thing, and I love it, but it's not something that it's important for the story. But I get that they have to make that appealing for the buyer, like hey, I'm here, and maybe sometimes it's the easiest way to catch your eye. You know what I mean? Even though the thing that it's inside is totally different, but it's a way of saying yes. Here, pick this one. I'm not saying that it's the fantastic way of doing it. It's not my preferred situation, but I can understand. In the trade paperback, the big collector edition, like I have, it has two trades, and it's my cover on them, and you can see the three characters, Rapunzel, Red, and Talia. They are in a fighting position, I made several covers for them, and I remember that all of them were this kind of fighting, and they are ready to rock, not in the sexual thing, but in a fighting way. But okay, I think the other artists, they may not know the story or of inside, So in this industry, not all the cover artists know the inside of the book, so they get an idea of the characters, and they make a situation in their head, and they pick an image, so it doesn't depend on, they don't have all the information to make a cover per se, so I can understand that it's different. For me, I'm not saying that it's a bad art. I love the art of all my cover artists, but I see the point that you're taking. Okay.
Another thing is that on the first volume, especially on the first volume, you've been colored by Ivan Nunes.
Yes.
Who has almost a painterly colors. Mm-hmm. It's much more it's very textured.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I think it struck out to me when I reread the stories recently, and especially for late 2000s comic book coloring, which I think the American industry particularly was in a pretty bad place at that point. Because it was all gradients, and it wasn't especially appealing. And I think Ivan Nunes' work was much more interesting on that volume, and I was especially because it was so painterly and textured. Did you get to work with the colorist in some way, or did you just send in the pencils?
To be honest, no. I don't remember if I even talked with him, making an observation or something. I don't think so. No, because my first jobs, I didn't have any control of the color, and mainly all of them. I don't have any control of them. If I know the colorist, I can talk with him or her, and it's good, but it's not something that in my history has happened quite often. So I didn't have any chance to say anything about the color, but I was really impressed by his work and I loved it. I was like, oh my God, this color makes my art so upgrade, like it made it really better. So I love it. And I think he was really how do you say it, he put a really good heart into the art, and I'm looking at it right now, and it fits fantastic with the story, and I love it. When I got the pages, I remember I was amazed, like, oh my God, it's so good. For being your first job, I was really shocked with that, and I absolutely adored it. So yes.
Did you also ink it, or how was the process? Was this traditional penciling, inking, coloring, or was it?
It was so I no, I draw it digitally, all of it. So because I tried to years ago, I tried to do it in a traditional way, but I didn't have the skills already set on me for doing a proper job, and in the especially the fast pace of the work, because the dates are really tight, and I remember myself feeling very stressed out about the deadlines, and I simply didn't have any the abilities to do it in traditional while the timing it didn't happen. I mean, it was impossible for me, so I made it digital, and in digital you do your own sketches, you do your own ink, and I can tell it doesn't. You cannot say that it differs so much from traditional if you see the art on this book, and I was pretty okay with that. So it was all digital in black and white. Yeah.
So you mostly send them some pages with the line art, and they
sure.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. After Damsels, you've done a mini-series, a steampunk version of Battlestar Galactica, yes. I think.
Yes. So yeah, Damsels was there were a lot of issues, so it was really nice, because I had the opportunity to work in a lot of issues that it's not very often, not very usual, sorry, and then I just finished it, and it was okay, and I learned a lot, and after that you go from world of fantasy to a world of sci-fi and really in a totally different way. And okay, I was in a moment that I just did it, but I can tell you I loved Battlestar Galactica. I watched the show years ago, and I was really happy to be in the project, but I have to say it's not my best my best work, because something that I have learned is like drawing battleships and all this, and especially in the steampunk universe, it's really hard. Okay, so you have to be prepared for that. So it was kind of an experiment to be in this book. Yes.
Were you a fan of the rebooted Battlestar Galactica or of the original one? Because this was something funny. The steampunk one, the 1880, I think, was a steampunk version of the original one.
Yes. Okay, so I was fan of the new one because it was of my time, and I'm not that old. But I saw some episodes of the old one, and it was really fancy. So, and of course, I had to document myself on the characters and to remember a little bit. But because I made another issue of Battlestar Galactica that it was not in the steampunk universe. I don't know if you have that info. Did you know about that?
No, I didn't see it.
Yeah, it was a short story about with the real characters. I had to draw them like they were, so it was really really good. But anyway, in the steampunk universe, yeah, it was really bizarre. Everything like I was based in the designs of Sergio Davila. He's a friend of mine, a great artist from Spain as well. And he loved to put every gadget, and I'm not a fan of that. I'm not the typical artist that draws every little tiny thing, every detail thing. I like details, but I'm not obsessed with them. And in this book, I really had a hard time with that because there's a lot of gadgets, man.
Yeah. I've flipped through the first issue. You've done a lot of work and a lot of dispersed work. So if I miss anything that you think it's important and you want to talk about, please chip in because
at that time, for example, this book, I was in exclusive with them. Like I think it was for 3 years. I made whatever they want me to do, and I just I was okay with that because it was a really nice thing for me because I was sure that I had work to do and I was learning from the process of it. And it's Dynamite. It's a really great place. They have great characters to work with, great editors, and and it was really nice to work with them at the beginning because there was a lot of work, tight deadlines, but this made me the ability to get into it, to know if I was ready for that because this space is horribly. It's horrible for work. You have to know if you are set for this. It's totally different from the French, Belgium, you name it, market. Because in this industry, in the French industry, you have a lot of time to do your work, and in the American is not like that. Like you have to do 20 pages per 4 weeks, like blah blah blah, and do it on time. And I was like, I remember a moment that I was because you don't, since I started from scratch, basically, I suffer from stress. Like I can do it, and you have to be able to play with yourself a little bit, to trick you, and to be able to so just send the pages, even though you know that they are not perfect, or you could do it 1,000 times better with time, but you have to be able to do that and to let them go. You know what I mean? Because it's really hard. The pace is very very it's intense, and you have to be aware of that. So there's a lot of people, I understand that they don't want this. It's like I just cannot work under these stress conditions. Like I cannot do 22 pages in 4 weeks because I don't have the time, and plus corrections, plus changes, a lot of things that people that read it don't know. And okay, it is part of the job. So
when you say you've learned a lot while working for Dynamite, do you mostly think about that you've learned to manage yourself and to manage your work routine, or also in terms of the craft and learn stuff as a comic book artist?
Yes, of course. I learned everything. You learn how many hours you can spend in your day during one job, and you learn that most of them, all that you can, all the hours you can take. So, and you learn to be fast. You learn how to be, how to do the tricks, how to enjoy making the pages, how to read a script, how to talk to your editor, how to listen to the changes, how to propose things. You have to be very open-minded to do this job. For me, I say it under my circumstances, and you learn how to get better at your job. Sometimes you get frustrated because you cannot, you don't see your results until you have finished it. You know what I mean? And it happens a lot that I was joking with my friend Nico the other day, and that when you finished your job, you want to show everybody like, hey, I did this, and several months pass by, and it's like, oh, this is shit. Because it has to be like that, because you grow up every day and you get better at your skills every day. So your past work, it's you can see it's the failures and the things that are wrong, because you know better every day. Well, every artist say that, because it's a well-known thing. If you are better, if you get better, you know that your previous work could be better, but it's something that you learn from the process. So you have to be able to be gentle with yourself and forgive your errors and mistakes, because there's no other way to learn, but taking step by step and doing more and more and more and getting better at it. You cannot be content with your art. Well, you can be gentle and say, okay, I like this. You can like your own work, of course. I mean, it's we have our ego, and it's natural, but you have to know that you can do better all the time, and that's the point of everything.
What kind of feedback did the editors give to you? Like, were they mostly, I don't know, the character's costume doesn't fit the way they want to do, or was it also in terms of storytelling, or did it?
Mainly, errors or mistakes that artists make, like for example, in the storytelling, like, this is confusing, change this because it doesn't understand, the person that doesn't understand it very well, or whatever, or just errors of anatomy, or this seems not right, this just check it out, or whatever. And sometimes when I finished the pages, there were things that I had to change because they, for example, someone forgot to give you the reference for something, or they need it different, or all of things happens in this business, like your own mistakes from editors that don't check pages, and or just things that pass by and you don't realize, and it's like, oh my god, this thing, blah blah blah. So mistakes are human, and you can understand that. But mainly the feedback was positive, like something that you can grow in. It was never truly negative, like this sucks or whatever. No, they respect your work, and they try to do it better and the way that you can grow on it, But it's good relationship as long as you are professional and you get the reference good, and you have to be critical with yourself and with and if you don't agree with something, you can tell, of course. It's sometimes we feel trapped with fear, like, if I say that, they're not gonna like it, or they're gonna fire me, or whatever. No, you can be honest with the editor, and just in a polite way tell them that, like, I don't understand this, and what about this, what about that. Like, they are persons, and so you have to be able to communicate with them and just ask them, and that's the way. But the feedback was generally good.
It's good that you felt that you had space for pushback and for dialogue in regards to your art.
Mm-hmm.
I think the next work of yours that I'm familiar with is that I've read is Red Sonja,
Oh yes,
the Falcon Throne.
yes.
Was there anything between Battlestar and?
Oh yes, it was a Red Sonja, steampunk Red Sonja as well. I'm trying.
The Legendary.
Yes, legendary Red Sonja.
Yeah, I think I saw the second volume because so Legendary is a sort of uh, a smaller group of stories
Yes,
in
yeah.
they have the Legendary miniseries and the Legendary Vampirella and so on, and I saw Legendary Volume 2 and I thought it was a part of the bigger Legendary, and Volume 2 wasn't drawn by you, so yeah, that's
So
why
yeah, it is weird. Look, I found it. It's called Legendary Red Sonja, a steampunk adventure. So it is weird. It was with Mark Andreyko, an American writer. It's really nice, and yeah. So there was the story of Legendary that Sergio Davila was drawing before, and I think right now they made another story for Legendary Red Sonja, like last year or 2 years ago or something. And but I made this, and it was in the year 2015. Yeah, and yes, of course, I work with Joe Rivant, and yes, with Mark, and it was a fun story, honestly. And I had an issue that was drawn by my friend Juanan. A ver, let's see if Juanan Ramirez is another Spanish artist, and he helped me with a I think it was one issue or two, I cannot remember. Because of the deadlines too. If your pace wasn't you couldn't do it on time, they can help you, other artists, with the job. So yeah, I can see here that Juanan was helping me, and he did a great job. And yes, it's a story. It's a fun story about Red Sonja in that outfit that I absolutely love, and it was a fun one. Yeah, it has the story with.
Captain Nemo.
Yes, Captain Nemo. Thank you. So it's a kind of a horror type story, but with comedy and yes, it was really fun to draw it. And the Bride of Frankenstein, yeah, I love that story. So this was, I think, my third work with them. Yeah. Yes, and later
you've done lots of work with the characters from various sources and stories coming together.
Yes. This was I don't know why the steampunk was kind of popular at this time. So yeah, they made this, and it was fun. And later the Falcon Throne came, yes, with the design of I can't remember the artist that designed the hair, but
Marguerite Sauvage, or she just did the covers.
Yeah, Marguerite did the covers. Yes, but and Diego Galindo also helped me in the book, but the really the outfit of her, I didn't design it, because she doesn't have the chainmail bikini on this one.
Yeah.
So I felt like I never had a chance to draw her properly, like not properly, like I always read her because I love the character of Red Sonja. I grew with her and I was super excited to be part of to be drawing her. But I felt like, okay, so in Legendary she has the scarf or the the different outfit, like the goggles and the pants and the chainmail, but it's different. And and this one, she has the totally the armor, and it's good, but it's like, and the hair is not like she uses to wear it, and different outfit. That it's fantastic. I love that, but it's like
But there are free characters that are drawn in the classical armor, the free supplicant. Red Sonjas.
Yes. But it was really nice to work on this project, and the story was it was great too. So yeah. But I remember these words with a lot of tight deadlines, but with a lot of good memories. Yes, I am. I'm looking at it right now, and yeah, it was fun too. I always say the word fun. Well, because yeah, it's what it is. They changed the colorist the colorist Jorge Sutil. He's an Spaniard too, and this time I did have the chance to work him more tightly. Like, hey, can you do this? Blah blah blah. For example, in Red Sonja, can you make her lips this way and such? So yeah. He's a really good colorist as well, but they changed him.
Yeah, what I've noticed with the series is that there are moments where the lines aren't black, they are colored.
Yes.
I think the most obvious is with Red Sonja's hair, which isn't contoured with black. Like usually it's almost a color hold.
Yes.
Just the color.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a bit striking.
Yeah, but it's something. I think he. I don't know if it was his idea or mine. I don't remember, but I think it was nice. Maybe. Yeah, maybe it can be tough to the eye if you're not used to it. But I think it was good.
No, I like it. It's something different.
Yeah, right.
It looks interesting. It looks and it's nice. Did they put you on Red Sonja, the Falcon Throne, because of Legendary, or?
I don't really remember. I think they just thought that I might be a good fit for the character at that time, and I was really happy about it. So, but this again is like a Red Sonja that is younger. It's like when Conan gets portrayed in his younger ages. It's not the Conan of Buscema that we know, for example, or Barry Windsor Smith or whatever. So it's not like the Red Sonja that I grew up with. It was like the Buscema, for example, or Frank Thorne. So she wasn't that Red Sonja. You know what I mean? That's why I can say, well, she was younger, so it's another period of her life. So she doesn't look like the Red Sonja that we are used to, strictly speaking. Yeah.
Were there translated editions in Spain of the Sword and Sorcery Marvel stuff, or?
Yeah. I don't remember the publisher, but yes, of course. Yeah, I do remember. I do have them. I don't know where they are right now, stored somewhere. I don't remember maybe Panini. I'm not really sure about that. I should look for it, but definitely, yeah, we did have published editions of this Red Sonja, and later when I grew up, I bought a new edition of that I have here with me. So, but yeah, and this was, I think that was my last thing that I did for Dynamite, the Red Sonja, if I'm correct.
I think so.
Oh,
Then
Vampirella. Yeah. I made Vampirella as well. Yeah. Yes, I did Vampirella. But I think Red Sonja was the latest of them all, because my run on Vampirella. Does it ring a bell on you?
No.
Yeah, so it was an annual. It was an annual and short story of several stories with other artists of Vampirella. One with with werewolves, that it was really fun. And the Vampirella, I think for Dynamite is I think it was my greatest art. The one that I felt more like greatest.
Most proud of.
Yeah, like I can see that I had better skills on that for whatever reason. Yes, I have a lot of love for that book as well. Yeah, and the character Vampirella is very sensual and very attractive to draw. So, and all of the horror style, like more creepy, and so I like it very much. you change the style, or it depends on the book, because sometimes I don't know why, but it happens to a lot of artists that depends on the story, on the book. You have a different vibe on it, and you have it really different. For example, the things that you saw from DC was Bombshells. Am I right?
Yeah, Bombshells and Gotham City Garage.
Yeah, sure. So you can tell the difference between them, right? When you see the pages in Bombshells, it's the line. I don't know why it was more delicate, and in Gotham City Garage it was more vast, like more powerful or more messy. I don't know if it. Can you tell that, or is it the same for you? The art?
No, it's not the same. It's I notice differences. I don't know if I can really articulate the differences between the art. Like, sure, if I look at 2 pages and I compare them, I'll be able to
tell the difference. Yeah,
but I don't. I don't think I've zoomed in on the difference between the art while reading them. And also I'd imagine that you also modulate it somewhat to fit with the other artists. Like this was something I was going to ask you about the DC stories in the digital anthologies, because those are all those stories are drawn by a lot of artists. Like,
yes, sure.
Each every few chapters they change the artist, and I was wondering if you take that into consideration when working on those.
Not really. I may have seen some of their work, but no, it's not something that I do, like try to be in the wave of other artists. I understand that, but I don't find myself in that position, because I cannot copy another art, and I can do maybe one drawing in that way, but making pages at a certain velocity, you cannot do. I speak by myself. I cannot copy another style or try to go in that direction. So no, if I changed my style, it was because I was getting or growing on it, or getting better, or whatever. But it's my style, and it's something that it's different from the story. It's like the vibe of the story, that you can use different brushes, or different textures, or more black, or more ink, or this is more light, or more soft. So it's something that you get from the story, not from all the artists. But I can see the point that you are making.
And those digital comics are also, their format is almost landscape.
Oh yes.
Do you design the pages considering that, or?
Yes, sure. So yeah, of course. Yeah. So when I was I made the very first issue that I made, it was the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, you introduced the Suicide Squad in the Bombshells universe.
Yeah, the format was different, and it was divided into rectangles, like in a regular page of DC. It has their own the sheet, and you have the formal dimensions. But in this one, you had to do cut the action in two, in the top and the bottom. So everything that you design on the page, the layout, I mean, the storytelling must to be considering that part, because you cannot work all the time focusing your attention or the drama or whatever in the middle of the page, because it's going to be cut, So you have to be like working on the top and on the bottom, and try to put less information in the middle of the page. You know what I mean? So when they had double splash page or splash page, I had to take that into consideration, and to be really aware of where you put the characters, where you put the dialogue, blah, 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 because it's different, the format. So you have to take that into consideration, and that's because when I have the printed version here right now with me, and I'm seeing it, and you can tell it right away. Like yes, if you get your attention on the page, you can see that it's mainly divided in two, and it's shortened the possibility of the storytelling a little bit, not all the time, okay, but a little bit. Because I realized there that I was used to do like to playing a lot, like with the panels, and so. But here you have to be more careful about that, and it was totally different. Well, you get used to it, right? When you're doing it, it's like, okay, so it's another thing that you have to take on consideration. So it's no big deal. But when you see it printed, it's like, oh yeah, you can see it. You can tell this was the way. Yeah.
That's one of the things that I think I like about this digital first series, which are some of the comics that I find the most enjoyable in a regular reading kind of way, because I don't know, in the past few years DC put out a lot of good comics, great comics, like the Grant Morrison Green Lantern issues, Mr. Miracle, and so on. But most of them are miniseries or maxi series. These long running issues, I think all of them kind of start and stop. Like they have really good portions and then they go. Which the digital first series, Injustice, Bombshells, Gotham City Garage now, I think they are some of the most enjoyable superhero comics. Like I can get them and I read them, and they flow nicely.
That's good.
Yeah, and I think the way the writers and the artists have to treat the page kind of makes them I imagine helps this effect for me in a bit, because I don't know, they most focus on the smaller moments and less to create these bombastic pages.
Yes, I understand that. Yeah, it's maybe it's a place where they can experiment more with the situations of the characters and the development of their the feelings and their whereabouts and their thinking, and it's something more humane, that not only the superhero pose or the grandiloquent sequences, but they are lovely, of course.
And especially because they one issue is 10 pages, so like the writers have to put some story in the first in 10 pages, like and that at least build up to a reveal or to something, and I like the pacing of these comics.
That's good.
When you say that you couldn't play with the panels in the same way that you used to, I noticed a sequence in Gotham City Garage where it's Supergirl and Catwoman and Dick Grayson are infiltrating a lab, a underground research facility, and the page is laid out almost like a diagram of the facility, and they are going through it in a S instead of being separated panel from panel. And what was that your idea? Was that coming from the writer, or because it's a very interesting layout?
Oh yeah. I'm seeing it right now. The page of the Supergirl, and they with the stairs, right? Yeah. So I think I cannot remember, but I think it was kind of maybe the script was like they enter and they put like panel 1, they are entering. So the script it's very very like divided, like panel 1, panel 2, blah blah blah. So it's good. So it's something that they say you have it, but I think it was my thing to do it like in a escalate layout. You know what I mean? Like this one, I think it was my, but I cannot tell you for sure. But yeah, but the thing is that I wanted, for example, with this page, I would have loved to do like more play with the stairs. You know, like put it in all of the panels, like overlapping and so, but I couldn't do it because I had to think about the divided scene. I should have done it. Okay, but I think it was a good result at the end. No,
yeah, it was a very interesting layout that worked, because there are also times when artists try to create layouts that are unconventional layouts, and they are hard to read, or they are instead of getting it and being able to read it without effort, you have to stare at it, and it pulls you out of the story. And it's appreciated, is to be appreciated that the artists are trying something new, but if the effect is what I didn't ask you about is how did you end up at DC? Like, was it through Margaret Bennett, because she was the writer on Falcon Throne as well, or and Bombshells, or was that a coincidence that?
I think I talked with Margaret at that time, and she was lovely. But no, wow, man, I'm not pretty sure about that. No, it wasn't through Margaret. It was I don't know, maybe my name was dropped. No, but I still had my agent. Yeah, I was with Alberto at that time, and I think he may send samples of my work, or maybe because it was not something about the writer talking about me. I think, I don't know, in the underworld, whatever happens there, I don't know, but when you work with certain writer, for example, maybe you get more known by some publisher, so by some editors that have worked with them as well. So, and your name gets a little bit more known, because they can see your work as well, different editors from different publishers. So if you have been working for several years with Dynamite, for example, and I have worked with Marguerite, and so of course it's something that may have kept gotten their attention. So probably, yeah. But my agent talked with them because I was offered the Suicide Squad thing, and it was okay. That's fantastic. Yeah, especially because I was in a place where I finished Red Sonja, the Falcon Throne, and I was without work for several days. I was in the time of making samples for this and for that. I remember I made samples for some job on Family Guy, the TV series. Yeah, they wanted to do a comic, and I have some samples that I sent. But at the time this work came by, it was a time of doing some samples, and this job came by, and it was fantastic. Yeah, so it was my first time with working with DC, and at that time I traveled to New York as well. I met my editor, Jim Chadwick, and it was great, and it was a good time to know some faces, And later, when I started when I finished Suicide Squad and whatever, and I was actually I had finished some of the Bombshell stuff, I think, and I was begin with the Gotham City. That was the time where I went to the workshop DC. You know that?
I know of it, yeah, but maybe you should elaborate and share your experience at the workshop.
So I was working already with DC in these digital comics and such, and Jessica Chen, that I have worked with them in with her in Bombshells, I think, and in Gotham. She proposed me to, like, hey, do you want to do this? Because I think you would be really great with this workshop. We do have this here, like you make some samples and you can come to LA and for 10 days and be with other people or the artists that can prepare here, and you get to know us and talk to editors, blah, blah. So I made the samples and they picked me with other 5 wonderful human beings that we are friends now. And in 2017, we went there to Los Angeles, and we were in DC office, and we met a lot of editors and a lot of great people, and it was lovely. I got to we were in class with Klaus Jansson and Andy Kubert, man, so it was fantastic. And there were 10 days where we learned a lot of storytelling and pages and art, and wow, it was fantastic. I remember it with a lot of passion because it was really great. Like, I could see the library from DC, and I got to see the first issue of Superman and Batman, and it was so good. And the art of great artists, like it was amazing. And yes, so after that, we made the book. I think that was the last year that they made us this.
No, No. It was the last one. It was the first one is in 2016, another one in 2017, and the last one is in 2019. Yes. So yeah, yours was in the last one.
So we made the talent workshop, the book, and I got mine of Wonder Woman, and my friends with I don't know if you know that book. It's really nice. I love it. And after that, I got to do several work with them as well. And later that, several months passed by, because here you don't have the work guaranteed. People need to know that even though you work for DC, you work for Marvel, you work for whatever publisher, that it's like the top of everything. You don't, to be able to maintain yourself in a good position. It's hard. It's there are a lot of great talented artists that work great, and it's really difficult to be all the time in great titles, but nevertheless you still try it, and you do your own, and you do your job, and it's you do what you love, that it's drawing, so it's fantastic. And the thing, I went with Marvel, I did the Age of Conan Valeria. Yeah, and several covers with my friend Carlos Pacheco, that I ink him sometimes. And that was several months ago, last year. And I made some work with a UK publisher. It's 2000 AD. That was Judge Anderson.
Yeah. I don't know really the rhythm you worked in, but it seems that since 2018 you exploded.
in a bad way or a good way?
No, in a good way. Like, you are everywhere.
Oh, yes, that's the thing. Yeah. It was like the pace was different because it was like a month publishing. Like, so I had to do like 8 pages, and in total I think there was like 40 pages of the story with Emma Bibi and Barbara Nocenso in the colors, and it was an all-female team up, and it was really great story.
On Judge Anderson, on the paranormal Judge Dredd side of the things. I was curious about that as well, because again, it's a different format. Like, the pages are a bit wider.
Yes.
And the stories are 8 pages long. And I was wondering, how did that affect the way you?
Well,
or did you notice any difference?
Well, yes, there's a difference, but it's not much to to care about. It's like a different format. Okay, as long as it's not something that it's important for me. As long as it's in vertical and and you can read it like you read a normal book, it's fine. I mean, maybe a little bit different, in the beginning, but no, you get used to it and it's not big of a deal. But yeah, it was more my art again. It gets more gritty because of course it's 2000 AD, so it's punk and it's rock and it's metal and it's yeah.
At least it was at that point. It was one of the last moments of the book when it was going for that. Recently, they rebooted themselves to be more all ages.
Yeah,
they sanded off the edges a bit on the books, on the strips.
So that was I was in the middle of 2000 AD and I was offered Valeria. So I had to work on them at the same time for a period of time. They were overlapped a little bit and I was really with like a machine, all day working. It was a period of stress, but good stress because I was doing this. I mean, imagine I love Conan and Valeria for me was like, oh my god, when they offered me I was like, what? Of course I love Valeria, and it's like yeah, and the chance to draw her in her early ages, because then again it happens with Red Sonja, that she's younger and making her path into the woman that she's to be, and it has to be different from the version that I was used to it, like for example in the Red Tales of Barry Windsor or even though the Sandal Berman in the movie of Conan, Conan the Barbarian, because I was in love with that character when I was little. So it was a dream come true. All of them really have been a dream come true to draw. Red Sonja, Vampirella, Valeria, Wonder Woman, I don't know, you name it. I've been working with very powerful women that have constructed a really nice image of great characters,
Yeah, I noticed that you worked mostly on women characters and on themes with women characters.
Yeah.
Did you had any choice in doing that? Did you? It's very good that you enjoyed that and that you
yes
appreciated the characters, but. Was this something that just happened? Was this? Do you think that the editors put you on these characters because you're a woman? And
no, I don't think it's because I'm a woman. It's because it's something I'm good at, or I think I'm apparently good at. I don't really know when you start doing stuff for example, with damsels, mainly females, like women with power, with character, with their own story. You get to, you are. It's normal that your path is going to be surrounding this, because you get better at doing it, and it's not like I don't like drawing men. Of course I love it, but it's like I don't know why. It's a mix about the stories that are demanded right now, and the opportunity that you get to do it, and maybe if you are good in this situation, you're gonna get more offers of this, because okay, so this artist draws some nice characters, powerful women. Oh, so I can see her doing that character, blah blah blah. So it's natural to come in this situation, But I see that I have to work a little bit more in man characters, or just to grow more as an artist and not feel like stuck in a certain type of thing doing all your life. I love it, and I of course I'm going to do it all my life if I can, but I understand that I need to grow more in that in the other area, if you know what I mean.
I mean, it's not really a problem of skills. Like there are plenty of male characters in your comics.
Sure.
It's something more of, I don't know, of marketing and the kinds of series you become associated with, and would you like to work on I don't know, a Batman title, a Superman title, or now you've the latest things you've had, I think, are a Catwoman issue, and the House of Mysteries.
Oh, Whispers, sorry. It's my friend Dominic Stanton. That's a great artist, and I was with him in the workshop as well, and he needed some help with the pages and the story because he had a lot of work, and I helped him with some pages. So I'm not the regular artist there. I just helped him a little bit, and it was really, really good to work with him. And it was great, and the characters were amazing, I tell you. But it was, a one-time thing to help him. And Catwoman, as I was starting to do some issues of her, I made some special of Poison Ivy at Christmas, and I made Wonder Woman for a giant book of the character. It was 8 pages, I remember, if I remember correctly, and they were tiny works since this last work I did with Valeria in Marvel. So it was the again with DC publishing, and I started to do some pages in the Catwoman in issue with Geraldo Borges and other artists, and I made the last issue was a Catwoman issue that it was really great with the story of the bands, the pink bands of maids that clean your house, like in a porn version, you know what? So the story is about that, and it's great. It's really cheesy, and this was the last thing I made, and it was going to be released, and the Corona just came, and it's like fuck it. So so it hasn't been out. I don't know if they are getting the story in digital. I don't really know.
DC released, they supplemented their usual releases with some so-called digital first issues that I think they actually made for Walmart.
Oh yeah.
They had a series that was Walmart exclusive, and now I think they're releasing those digitally. Yeah, which is interesting as well, because the digital first DC comics, I think they are sort of marginalized and really discussed. At least I don't see them discussed online that much, but as I said, I think they are very, very good comics. And probably they have a public, like they keep making them, so somebody buys them and reads them.
Yeah, of course.
And it's with the Corona thing, it shows that it's an important format, like to have such a way of distributing comics.
Yeah, maybe this is an opportunity to get that chapter, like more people read comics, they want comics, so even though I'm the kind of person that if I like a band, I can download their music and I can buy their CD, you know what I mean, and I can go to a concert and I can buy a t-shirt. So this it's an example of what I try to say, like if I have a digital copy, I am going to buy the book in physical conditions if I have it, because not everybody thinks like me, of course, but it doesn't, it's like a support, it's like they both can coexist, I guess. And yes, I think I've read the digital comics this quarantine during this quarantine or whatever, and yeah, I mean, you can do both, right? So yeah, I would put my efforts in that direction as well. Yes, especially for a digital future that we have, So it's something that you have to make it count.
Sadly, it didn't really count that much. Like, it was a very tricky situation with the direct market in the US, and I think the companies kind of wanted to push more for digital. Like it feels, especially DC really. DC started this whole thing going, like, with back in, I don't know, 2014, when they started publishing the comics at the same time, because you remember on Comixology, before the New 52, there was a delay between new comics when they appeared in the stores and when they appeared on Comixology. DC pushed day and date program, and that pushed the whole industry forward on that thing. But they had to negotiate with the stores and with Diamond to on the prices, and they had to agree to sell the digital comics at the same price as the print ones. And I'm curious what will happen now with after DC said that they'll use also alternative distribution methods and not depend only on Diamond. It's an interesting time.
Yes, of course. I mean, we are in a this situation that we don't know what's gonna happen. Of course, we are all the same, and this not knowing this uncertainty, it can be an opportunity as well, okay, so we have a lot this time to reconnect a little bit and to get new ideas and how we can manage this for people to not get without this kind of amusement, because this is something that certain people needs, like water, or like like a show, imagine this quarantine without shows, without books, without music, we would be all, throwing ourselves from the window, because it would be unsustainable. So the culture, we need culture, and we need new ways of approaching it. So this will develop new ways of taking the chance to get into this, and I guess it's you can see it as an opportunity. Sorry, but we have to wait a little bit, and since we are in a pause situation, I don't know what's gonna be, but I mean, we're not going to disappear, I hope. Because this is going to change, of course, but we are still keeping reading comics, right? And this is not going to die like from one day to another. So we can fine.
I mean, reading comics, there are many comics already, so reading comics, it won't really go away.
Yeah,
I was interested if you are getting any work now with this thing, or
I'm one of the persons that are screwed right now, because we're screwed, like waiting, because it all happened when I finished the issue of Catwoman. I just finished and I was like, yeah, cool, but I didn't have anything talked for new projects, and I was going into this time of talking with editors and so on. And this happened. So it's like, okay, stop and pause. And it's like, okay, so I have nothing for the moment. And okay, right now I'm doing commissions. I'm working on my own stuff. I'm trying to write my own thing. It's a bit of it's scary. It's because I've been always a person who writes about feelings and so, but not real. Okay, not finished script, like of course, I wrote scripts at college, at university, or my own stuff, or write, but not in a professional way to be published already. So, but this was a moment that I was expecting to be meeting in the near future. So right now the corona is making me, forcing me to, let's do this right now. So yeah, I'm trying to find my own way to be able to tell my own stories, with my own characters and my own stuff, because I do have ideas and I have to express myself. And I've been wanting to do this for a long time, but I had this feeling to work outside in the real industry to get a point where I could be in a position of doing this kind of stuff. So yeah. But again, we are in a pandemic fucking thing, it's difficult to concentrate, to have goals ahead, to create, because it's really hard. So right now I'm on commissions, drawing beautiful women and trying to do my own stuff. So that's how I spend my days, man.
On the one hand, it's not great that you don't have much work lined up, but if you get to develop your own stuff, that's maybe a silver lining there.
We'll see. I don't know. Maybe tomorrow I get offered another job. I don't know. Let's see how this goes. I will definitely have to try to talk to more editors right now. But again, the situation is bad for everyone. So there's nothing wrong to stop for a minute and to wait a little bit and not be very nervous and I'm not going to die without work for several months. Okay, I can do with that. I can do it. So try not to get nervous. This is the main thing, because this industry can be very overwhelming sometimes when you don't have a job, sometimes you don't have a job for months, and sometimes you get two jobs at the same time, and it's like, why is this? So, but you have, that's life, and you have to get on with it,
I've said at the beginning that I get to notice that almost everyone has a different path in the industry, but a lot of the experiences are very similar in this thing with having periods with no work, and then getting periods with a lot of work at the same time. This seems a bit common.
Yes, of course. And when you, for example, you get offered a great job, and it's like, oh my God, Valeria, and I was offered to do other stuff for DC at the same time, and I was like, are you serious? Like, life is a bitch. That's the thing. That's my motto. but then again, you have to keep living. So, like Matthew McConaughey says, just keep living, man. And yeah. Oh my God, sorry about that. But yeah, it's the thing. You have to keep busy. And I am a lucky woman because I don't die of boredom, because I don't know what boredom is, because I always have a lot of things to do, a lot of things to read, to sew, to see, to watch, to I don't know. So yeah, I'm a lucky girl. I will tell you, and to be the last part of the thing, that nowadays, being the world as it is, globalized, and it's way easier to get the chance to work with a foreign publisher, because of the internet. So that's the thing that we all have in mind, and it's easier, but at the same time, being so, it's really difficult to maintain yourself and to get a proper position, because we are a lot of in the world, and the world is full with great talented people, and it's amazing. And I hope we all could do our jobs and we all could express ourselves. And this was a creative safe space is for everyone. But then again, the world is as it is. So you never know what are your chances to end up doing creative art or art for a different country, a different publisher, a different, but it's something that we can play right now, and it's something that we have to bear in mind, that the future is it's gonna depend on the, on interpersonal relationships all around the globe, and it's going to be like a really mindscape, a virtual mindscape, and so a map interconnected with different minds and creative fields, and it looks awesome, and I can't wait to see where we go. But but when the virus is over, all right.
One of the last things I wanted to talk to you about was about your influences and inspirations. And I'm glad that you mentioned Carlos Pajenco, because a lot of the Spanish artists that I tend to think about have a very particular style, like a very flat style and designy. Like, I don't know, people like Marcos Martin or Javier Rodriguez or Cano, or is that a very clean style?
Yes.
And then you are quite different from them. And the only other Spanish artist that I could think of that you resemble was Carlos Pajenco.
Oh yes. Oh wow, that's gorgeous. For you to say that. I mean, he has helped me a lot. He's been a real friend, and I've learned a lot of what I know. I learned from Carlos, and he's one of the best. I mean, in our country, he made the path for all of us that are trying to work for, or are doing work for the American market, and it's something to have in mind, because he opened the door basically, and along other artists, of course. But yeah, we do have great different art here, like in different ways. For example, I can see what you mean on the art of Javier Rodriguez and the other that you said. But we do have a lot other. For example,
there's a lot of diversity. Like there's also Emma Rios, which is a very particular artist.
Yes, Emma is fantastic. Carmen Carnero,
Salvador La Roca, I think his specialism, and he has a photorealistic style. Yeah, you've got a
Javier Fernandez, Jorge Jimenez. There's Bruno Redondo, Pepe Larraz. You name it. We have great artists here, like super great. But I understand that what style you mean. Yeah.
So other than
my influences, of course, Carlos was I met him, I knew his work, and I met him, and I was very lucky to meet him, and he introduced me to my agent, for sure, and to other people, and I've learned a lot, and other artists that are not my personal friends, but I have always adored, like Jeffrey Jones is my top artist, is Jeffrey Catherine Jones. Do you know her?
Yeah. I know the
yes, I don't know, Buscema, Frachetta, Frank Thorne, Barry Windsor Smith, Alan Davis, oh my God, I don't know, a lot of them, John Byrne, whatever, you name it, all of them. All of them, honestly. Enki Bilal, nowadays Mahmoud Asrar, Pepe Larraz, I don't know, Sarah Pikeli, Fiona Staples. I'm mixing all of them because I don't know, I just like a great art, but my top one, the one that I would totally be Jeffrey Jones.
Very. I don't know if underappreciated artist, because everyone, if there is anyone that knows Jones and doesn't love them, but I think it's not particularly well-known
Yes, I
artist.
don't know why. I think it's an artist that artists know. You know, it's like
Yeah, an artist
yes,
artist.
artist like Fracetta a little bit. Well, Fracetta is very well known. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah.
Francetta especially. Francetta is extremely well known,
Yeah,
and
but Frachita was a fan of Jones as well, and I don't know why Jeffrey Jones was underrated. I think maybe because of his or her themes, like being more of a painter, maybe. Although he did comic strips and the covers and whatever. I don't know why she was not very well known, or she's not at the times. But when I talk with artists, most of them know about her, and all agree that it's brilliant, you know. And but yeah, in the more public sphere, it's less known, and I can only think it's because human is stupid, like like how do.
to be fair, I don't think that she made a lot of like I don't know. I think she did a lot of stuff for Warren comics wise and covers.
Yes, yeah.
Like yeah, she yeah. It's strange. It's not particularly well kept in
No, yeah,
circulation. Like
maybe the she was not streamed well, like in a, I don't know why. I honestly, I have the life of Jeffrey Jones, you know, a documentary that a woman made about her, and I haven't seen it already because I'm so stupid. I was saving it for a special occasion. Oh, maybe I see it, I watch it today, because I was saving it for a special occasion, because you know, but it's my way of thinking. Who knows? I'm so dumb, but yeah, I could say she's my top artist. Well, again, of course, I adore other artists and other sequential artists that I freak out when I read their stories. Like, oh my god! But yeah, it's a mixture of a lot, and then again, I'm very aware that I need to read more comics, because the more I know, the less I know. It's something that happens a lot, and yeah. But then again, we have a big spectrum to cover. In if we are people, if you are curious people, there's a lot of you for you to do. You know, the word is curiosity.
maybe another thing to do well in quarantine.
yes, sure.
Yeah, so I think we covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
We talked through a lot of comics,
Yeah,
and
it's
a lot of other
yes.
stuff. Thank you very much for coming on.
Of course, thank you so much for you know, for being aware of my work, and asking me, and you know, for listening to me, and it's been really nice to talk to you.
Thank you.
No problem.
Bye.
Okay, bye.